Okay, so we got the satellite. The satellite, conveniently, is now facing towards us, which makes our life a little bit simpler. And what do we have to do? Well, right now, we're not moving relative to the satellite, which means we are basically in exactly the same orbit, which is swell. We need to do a few things. Obviously, we need to face the satellite. Now, one thing you can do is you can specify to Kerbal Space Program where you'd like to control from, just to make sure that the values are all nicely centered. So we're controlling from that, and we're going to target... How come I can't right-click on this and choose a target over there? Because I want to make sure I target the docking port. I can't click on anything. I don't know, maybe that's fine. Let's assume it's fine. So that's step one. Step two is obviously we want to face the target. The pink thing is our target. So if the center of our nav ball here is in the center of the pink thing, we are clearly facing our target. This does not mean that we are parallel to the target. Because you imagine a situation where the satellite is facing... I'm trying to figure out a good camera angle. The satellite's facing this way, and we're over here. So now we're facing the satellite, but we're not actually straight on. We are at... an angle. Here, I should have done it this way. Satellite's facing this way. We're over here. So now we're facing the satellite, but when we get there, we're crooked. Clear target, then target docking port. Maybe. So double click is normally clear target, right? Is there a clear target key? Kerbal clear target. Normally you just double click and it clears it. Alright, so the hotkey screen has no information for me. Awesome. Huh. Unset a target in the map. I mean, I guess. The thing is, I want this to be my target. Alright, target's been cleared. There you go. Clampotron Lunar docking port set as target. Because we want to make sure we're facing exactly the right thing. Now, unless I am wrong, this red part is part of a mod. Because I believe the red thing here is actually showing you the parallel direction to make sure that you're actually facing the same angle. So I was going to say, what we need to make sure at this point is we need to make sure that the center of our nav ball is on the pink target, and also our prograde marker is on the pink target to confirm that we're moving towards it. It wasn't going to guarantee that we were lined up, although the Smart ASS has a mode to ensure that we are lined up properly. And this, I think that's a mod that adds a marker on the nav ball to confirm that you're facing the same way. Otherwise, you just have to make sure that not only you're facing towards the target, right? Facing towards the target, but you're actually in a position where facing the target means you're mostly going to come dead on it. So, as it turns out, we basically have everything stacked up. We want to make sure that literally everything is stacked up. And if we've done this right, and we're kind of almost there as is, we don't even need RCS. RCS is great because it can give you some lateral motion to line up, but if you start from far enough away and you line up pretty good, you may not need it. Still, at this point, even though we're looking pretty good, and probably we could just coast in for the win, I'll go ahead and encourage Smart ASS to lock me... Okay, negative parallel. Oh, right, because we're going to be facing in opposite directions. So it's going to lock me parallel to the node. And then if I turn on RCS mode, then I can use the RCS to just shift sideways. How come it's not giving me the controls that I want? It's trying to twist more than shove. Oh, do I want to use... I need to use different keys, right, for the sideways motion? Yeah, there you go. I, J, K, L to line up the prograde marker, and N for backwards, because I don't want to smash in quite this hard. N for backwards, we're going to keep our pace going forward slightly, and then I, J, K, L is just pushing us sideways, and it's just going to affect the direction we're moving in. So I want to keep the prograde marker right on target. Stay on target! Stay on target! Stay on target! Okay, Smart ASS is kind of freaking out a bit, but what so happens the docking clamps are magnetic. So despite the fact that Smart ASS started freaking out at the end there, everything worked out. Docked! Now tell me that completes the mission. Contract complete. Yes. Okay. Yeah, okay, it is complete. For some reason, it's still in that list. Whew! I know. The solar panels aren't aligned. Actually, it's almost aligned this way, which is kind of funny. It's so close to being aligned, actually. I mean, we can just fake the camera angle to make it look like it is. Space smooch. I love it. I love it. It's the most romantic of all space maneuvers. So, nothing to do now but to bring Valentina home. Smart ASS is not a solid PID control. It's a hell of a lot better than the built-in one, especially before 1.2, which is part of the reasons your locking to retrograde on reentry used to drain all your batteries, because it was terrible. It gets better if there's more reaction wheels, and it gets a little more confused with the RSS. This is also a heavy ship to do this with. We have a lot of extra fuel in there. So, one of the things I'm going to do actually at this point is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the wrong key, hit Alt, and I'm going to right-click on all these fuel tanks. And... Wait, how come I can't transfer the fuel? If I just change the flow priority, will it do that? How do you transfer fuel now? Because normally you would alt-right-click to pop all these things open, and you'd get buttons to flow fuel in and out. I mean, I can disable fuel flow. Oh! It's a science center upgrade? It's not the green arrow. It's also not the hood. Stock KSP needs a facility unlock. You think so? We've completed some contracts. We might have some money for it. Capsule's away, no direct... I mean, it's possible... There is a Separatron. But the thing is, the thing is, my two Oscar tanks, which are literally touching, I couldn't get a transfer going between them. Resource transfer available, so you need to upgrade the R&D center to do that. Do we want to spend a bunch of money doing that? Let's do it. Okay, so now that I've done that, because the two Oscar tanks, which are literally touching, should be able to transfer between each other, and they were not. So let's try this again. You have failed this satellite! No. Yeah, 451,000. But a necessary upgrade because it allows you to take surface samples and unlocks the ability to get late game science. So, there you go. See, I was confused because these two tanks should be able to transfer with one another, and they weren't. But if we've done that, and then we do this, I should be able to say, transfer out. Because I only need enough fuel in here so that Valentina can deorbit and come home. So we may as well fill up this satellite that we're going to leave in space, because we might want to do something else cool with it later on. Why not? Done. Okay, we still have plenty of fuel in here, but now these two fuel tanks are completely full. My name is Valentina Kerman, and for 5 years I've been stranded on the space station. Holy crap. That's awesome. So, we want to, decouple. Or undock. Just gotta choose the right side. And there we go. We're back in charge of this vessel, and more than happy to come home. So all we have to do to come home is to drop a periapsis. We're in a super circular orbit here, so every place is our apoapsis, effectively. We don't have to worry about a sweet spot. And we've got fuel we're just gonna waste. We're just gonna dump this entire stage, which is 2/3 full of fuel. But that's okay. Better too much overkill than underkill. So we're just going to turn retrograde. I'm going to give a little of power here. Just make sure to give us a bit more space here so we don't accidentally burn this shit up. And just go ahead and burn and drop our periapsis down. More than good enough. Camera angle change to show you that we're suborbital now. Well, technically we're still orbital, just not a stable orbit because we're below 70K at some point, which means it's not going to be an orbit at all. And with all that in mind, I think I can just go ahead and dump this stage out. Trying to remember. I think we're okay. Here, let me just do an explicit hard save here, just in case. Let's go. All right, we'll just time warp until we re-enter. There we go. We'll turn retrograde, which we're getting Valentina to do for us. Thank you kindly. And again, I'll just physics warp because I like to live dangerously. Let's turn a light on so you guys can actually see the ship a little bit. Hey, it's the moon again. It's dark. I've got the ambient light up a little bit, which is why you can see anything at all, but it's still pretty goddamn dark. Hey, it's the sunrise! We're gonna land into the sunrise. How lovely. Check the satellite's orbit. The satellite's orbit would have been moved slightly from our operations, but it's still pretty much the same. It should be pretty much the same, and in fact, it should still be an extremely circular orbit, which is going to be sexy. All the bits and pieces are fine. There was an explosion from the other bits re-entering, but that's a-okay. Let's kill the physics warp for a second here, just to make sure that the system doesn't shake itself apart. Don't forget to eject the docker. I mean, there's not another... I don't have another Sepratron up here. We're going to bring all this in, because I figured it was fine. It's got a little bit of extra weight, but we've got our parachutes tuned to accommodate for this weight. And then we'll bring it home and, you know, then we get to reuse these parts. It's the landing of the rising sun. There's no programming stream today. At the end of the month is Let 'em Dare, so there'll be programming that happens quite extensively at that point. So just waiting for our speed to drop enough that we can deploy our parachutes. And then I think our next mission is like a manned orbit of the moon, which I think we can squeeze into this video. Emil, if you go back and read the comments on my description on the previous video, you'll know why that was the case. Can you go to Mars? Yeah, absolutely. It's called Duna in here, but absolutely. Some of our Kerbals are really well acquainted with Duna, having spent... Yeah, you want to quote Aerobits, you got poor Bob, or was it Bill? I think it was Bob, stranded on Duna for at least 5 years. Alright, we can turn off the SAS here. We definitely don't need it. Just waiting for our ship to slow down enough. There you go. It's safe shoot time. Yeah, we'll go and do it now. That's going to be a-okay. And we'll just activate the physics warp. Always a little bit risky, but not that risky. And we're good to go. We did go and rescue Bob. He spent 5 years on Duna, and then we finally sent a rescue mission there. I think it took another couple of years for the rescue mission to actually reach him, then pick him up, and then it took him another couple of years to get home. And I think his total mission time in the end was over 10 years with all the travel time, because including the first time he had to go to Duna as well, right? So I think he was gone over a decade, but he made it home. That looks healthy. This is fine. I mean, we're dropping at 5 meters a second. Every part can handle a collision at that rate, but Valentina's currently upside down in her seat right now and probably not entirely happy about it. Spoosh. Excellent. Recover vessel. That is not an easy mission. It's less dangerous. The most dangerous thing we did today was the starting one where we did the powered landing. That is by far the most dangerous thing you can do, especially on a planet with higher gravity. It gets much easier the lower a planet's gravity is because things get a little bit more floaty and slow motion. So the powered landing was the hardest thing, or the most dangerous thing to do. But this is one of the hardest things to do. So if we check our missions, SETI contracts over here. So we still have the manned moon orbit mission, Ooh, we have missions to make a Kerbal orbit station. And to do remote dockings, min-miss landing with a probe. No, we're going to do the manned moon orbit, which we have to do before we unlock the manned moon landing over here. So, how are we going to do it? Well, mostly we're going to use the same ship we used, well, just now, and in fact, the same one we used for the 72-hour orbit mission, because it was 35 days worth of food, which should be more than enough to get to the moon and back. So that was, again, our Orbiter Mark II, the Hawk DD. We'll modify the payload some more because we can pull off the RCS. We don't need that anymore. I want you... Oh, is it only left shift that zooms? I didn't realize right shift didn't zoom. Pull off that RCS. We can remove the RCS fuel as well. And there we go. Oh, and we can return to a single parachute. Like that. And do we need experiments? Probably some, but I don't know which. I could check my mods. Crew reports. Telescope. Crew report, EVA. Yeah, I think we've, other than the telescope, the crew reports, and the EVAs, we've got all the science from space around the moon that I can tell at a glance. So, we're going to want the telescope, and I think we're going to want to be able to transmit the science, because I think the telescope can do multiple runs over different biomes. So, that'd be kind of awkward to just stick there, although we don't have to bring the telescope home. So maybe what we do is we stick the telescope over here. Let's say we reorientate it to something like that, because that feels kind of good, right? Stick it there, and we make sure we've got a nice high-powered antenna. I guess it'll have to be another relay antenna, because it's the only one that's got the range, most likely. Which is kind of annoying, because it's not actually necessary, but it's okay. Likewise, we don't want to bring this home. Let me move the telescope up there, and move you over there. Does this extend? It opens the shutter, that's it. Okay. That might cost some drag and ascent, but I think it's okay. Is it? How expensive is it? It's $4 grand. Okay, that is pretty expensive. So then we'll switch things around then instead. We'll use the... Okay, good. Heat shields down there. We'll use the octa-core. Or the quad-core, or whatever it is. Quad-core. Because it also comes in a nice little storage variant over here. And we can bring it home. Oh, we don't have the solar... We haven't done anything with the solar power. The solar particle collector, so we'll do that. And I think that's all we're going to need. So we'll go ahead. You know, we could move our life support to these little things, too. Because our life support canisters come... don't they? In those little wedges? Supplies is what I'm looking for. Huh. Does the search not actually search every category? Or things aren't keyworded properly or something like that? So I guess there's not a wedge. There's one for just water. And food. But there's not an oxygen bit? Oh, oxygen tank. Yeah, they're all separate. These are huge amounts and way more than we need, though. Self-destruct. This is fine. Alkaline fuel cell. Consumes hydrogen and oxygen, produce portable water, heat, electrical output. I think we'll just end up putting a couple of just empty storage bays here just to complete the look of things. And I guess actually just for like weight distribution, I should take these guys and put them on opposite sides. Right, something like that. So we got some experiments, and we will want to throw on an antenna. Although, we've already got the... Or did I rip off the antenna? I guess I did. We still need to bring an antenna with us. It's only 600, so that's not so bad. There we go. And a little bit more aerodynamic, so it doesn't look as stupid. BB Tech, thank you very much for the tip. Thanks for the stream. Looking forward to your upcoming direct-to-DVD movies. Quill Warmonger. Quibble in space. It'll be fine. And Nives, thank you very much as well. Excelsior! I love you, Quill. Oh, thank you very much. I love you guys, too. Can you stack life support, hex cans, and empty wedges? Maybe. We'll just leave it in the ring here. It's a good amount at 35 days. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. It should be more than enough than what we need. I think we do need a little bit more Delta V. Do we have enough science to get some fuel lines? Because that'd be nice to asparagus things up a little bit. Where'd they move the fuel lines to? Way over here! Good God! Huh. So I guess not then. Anything else we want to unlock? There might be more experiments or something. Radio food tanks. Those are not the wedged food tanks, though. Recycling. Gray water tank. Water purifier. We don't need any of that stuff. Better solar stuff. I guess we could get, that's what we want. We want the Communitron DTS-M1 antenna. Yeah, it's the direct, a non-relay one. You know what? Let's go ahead and just research this. I mean, the relay one works fine. Don't need that laser. We don't need the lander bits yet. Maybe I'll just hold off. There's a heat shield beneath the containers. It was already there, and I made sure to pull it away. Let's take another gander at things, make sure we're happy. Because if we pull away the separator over here, you can see the heat shield. A-okay. We got the supplies, we got some extra batteries there, we got solar panels down here. We don't even need the batteries, it's just like paranoia and overkill. But yeah, we need a little bit more go. So while this is not a very cost-effective way of doing things, and it's not going to give us as much of a Delta V boost as we'd like, we are, unfortunately, because of a lack of asparagusing, going to be forced to do something kind of like this. Which gets us a 7,000 meters per second Delta V. And that's what we're looking for. We will want to strut things thusly to make sure that they're nice and stable. And that's the way it's going to have to be. So I'm still going to call this basically it's a variant of the Mark II, with, you know, some extra boosters. Yeah, this costs you way more money and doesn't give you as much Delta V as you would if you had the ability to asparagus. But it'll get us to a lunar flyby with overkill amounts of things. I mean, we have boosters, but boosters mostly are there to give you more thrust than actual distance and Delta V. But notice we get just as much Delta V out of this outer stage as the inner stage. So 4 times as many tanks, 4 times as many engines equals basically the same amount of total Delta V, which is pretty crazy. Our surface level thrust isn't huge, which is something that we could compensate with boosters, but this is going to be okay. We did not recalculate the parachute, which probably... Actually, right, because that just got put on directly, so let's go ahead and do that now. The real chutes is cool. It seems to have, like, needless tedium for this, though. Okay. Let's do it. I mean, it's like the Lunar orbiter. I suppose we could have, like, renamed it then, but too late. Let's go. But yeah, 4 times as much weight. Whereas if we had asparagusing, what we could do is have them in sets of pairs. So you'd have 2 boosters. Like, you'd have all the engines go at the same time. And then you'd have 2 of them draining into the other 2. So 2 would empty really fast and go away. Then the 2 on the side would also be draining into the middle, so at some point they would empty and go away, and your middle stage, which has been burning this whole time, would still have a full tank of gas. And you would go much, much further. Just fuel lines would increase the delta V of this design probably by 2,000, and would give us much better surface level thrust. So we've got the 4 engines, then we decouple, and the middle one lights, and then we decouple, and we have our space stage, then we decouple, and we come home with the parachute. We've got our science experiments, we've got the antenna over here so we can transmit it home and repeat it. We've got noise about stage destruction. These actually might be significant enough that it would make sense to put parachutes on them. Actually. Screw it. Let's go. We got about, in theory, 15 minutes left before we go to the multiplayer portion of the stream. The single player portion is almost certainly going to run over. Multiplayer for today is going to be Heroes of the Storm. We'll play a game or 2 of that and see how it goes. So yeah, we're spending some extra money on this, but hey, Valentina's going to get to go to the moon, and that is awesome. And turn. Yeah, listen to Rhino. He tells you why you got timed out. Don't do well with demands over here. Because we have slightly lower thrust, there's a risk that we'll gravity turn a little too much. So I'm just going to stay on the delayed side of this. If we end up going a little bit more vertical, that's not the end of the world. But ending up a little too flat, a little too early, can lead to bad things. So yeah, I'm just... Whoop. Oh, hold on. We got this. Stay locked to prograde now. I think we're going to be okay. Yeah. So we delayed it a bit. This shape here is very unfriendly to be outside of the prograde circle. But we're okay. We can tip down a little bit more here. Alright, I'm happy with our pathing. So yeah, our overall thrust is still low. It would be nice if we could light the middle engine. If we could do that, this whole thing would fly a lot better. But because we don't have the fuel lines, we cannot do that. So our apoapsis is climbing pretty quickly now. I think we can just throttle back a bit, which really I'd prefer to just steer it, but because this ship is a little tricky to steer right now, I'm going to prefer to use the throttle back mechanic to sort of stop the apoapsis from growing so much. This is actually not great because you're losing fuel efficiency to gravity drag, but it's not the end of the world. So right as these are about to run out, I'll just throttle back up here, so that when I light the next stage, it'll go at full throttle and give us a fair amount of control. That was really awkward because it happened at the same time our navball transitioned from orbital, or from surface mode to orbital mode, and the 2 progrades are not the same. So that's why the ship turns suddenly, and that can be very dangerous because if it's middle of turning when you drop your boosters, you can actually have the boosters knock onto your ship, which would be bad. So there's our 100k apoapsis, which is higher than we need for a strict orbit, but for reasons, that's the habit I get into for our moonshots. I just like 100k because it's nice and even. We do use a little bit more fuel, but it does give us a little bit more time to organize our orbit and everything like that. It's a little cost. It's one of these. It's cost of efficiency in exchange for just a little bit more safety and convenience. Same reason why sometimes you end up ascending a little bit more steeply than others. Different things like that. It's not the worst ascent I've ever seen though. It's not perfect, but it's okay. Ah, you can get our first analysis. Ooh, we cannot transmit this for very much. That's unfortunate. Although we should almost certainly be able to repeat this. So I should be able to EVA, collect the info from the solar particle collector, and then repeat. So we'll be doing a lot of EVAs here. That's okay. Where's the solar particle collector? Oh, it's right next to the door. That's not too shabby. We can probably grab it, actually, without even letting go of the ladder, which is nice to see. Excellent. We have tons of fuel in this stage. Wicked amounts of overkill, but that's okay. So, closing in on the apoapsis, and we'll just eyeball it. Who needs maneuver nodes? Maneuver nodes are for wimps. Or for people who want to be, more efficient. But, I don't like those people. It's crazy. Let's go ahead and extend the antenna out. Boop. Because it'll have to extend at some point later. We don't need it to be extended for us to steer because we've got a pilot, but that's all right. You know what? We've got a moment. Let's EVA. We're not even circularized. Let's keep that. Let's Take data. I'm like, I don't want to disassemble the part. We were too far away.